I think right now it's all on Thursdays. It's like Loki, Quantum Leap, and Gen V.
Not to mention Lower Decks.
Yeah, and Lower Decks. Like Thursday's the day again. Must see Thursdays.
I was telling Les that, man, we could not pick a worse night to record TV Dudes.
Right.
Like,
It puts us like a
But
week
no,
off.
but usually this is fine. Usually Marvel moves shit. They're not supposed to do
Right.
this.
No. When I saw Loki was Thursday, I was like, you broke the pact.
there was a whole minute there where Loki season 1 was like, shit, we're on the
Yeah.
pulse. Like
Yep.
we watched the episode and then record, and like we were on like,
Yeah, they changed it and it's not
it
cool.
fucked
enough.
us.
Well, if that's the only sin Disney commits, we'll probably wait.
Yeah, they do anything else wrong, so that's good. Yeah. Episode 456 of the TV Dudes, recorded October 11th, 2023. The Continental. This week, we're talking about Peacock's John Wick prequel, The Continental, and the return of Loki and Quantum Leap. Plus, we've got Star Trek Lower Decks for dessert. Before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
And I'm Nick, back from my excommunicado sentence.
And we're the TV Dudes. Yeah, y'all fucked up making me watch The Continental, because y'all are going to talk about The Continental, and I'm going to talk about how fucked it is that Mel Gibson is on The Continental.
No one should cast Mel Gibson. Yeah.
It ruined it for me.
Man, we had a deep conversation about how, like, me immediately watching, I'm like, well, Randy has no shot. They show Mel Gibson early, and they show him a lot.
They show him a lot because he's in like 20 minutes the fucking first episode, and he does nothing. We'll talk when we get there.
See,
but
yeah, trust me, he's the whole thing of the next two. He's in the whole. He's the antagonist. He's just.
Oh, well,
yeah, there's a lot of.
I don't know about that because I didn't watch 2 and 3 because
you only watched the first of 3 hour-and-a-half movies.
Yes, yeah, I was done at that point. We'll get to all that when we talk about our top stories. But first, it's time for our TV Diaries.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
Why don't you all start? I started last week.
Okay. I mean, me and Les just came off of Moonlighting. Watching the first
nice.
I still have 10 minutes left of that first episode because it's at a fucking hour and a half.
Continental style.
It's as long as the Continental, yeah.
I've never watched Moonlighting before, so.
Oh, interesting.
And of course, when I searched to see where it was, it's on Hulu, and then on my Roku, I just hit play. I hit go to Moonlighting, and it just started an episode. I don't know why it would do this. It started season 5, episode 1.
It did that with Boston Legal too. Like Hulu, when you switch it doesn't take you to it just starts an episode somewhere randomly in the show, which is weird.
It has no record of you ever having watched the show, but it decides you must want to start it at the start of season 5.
So it's the first episode of season 5, which is a musical number about being back into syndication. Like
a fourth wall breaking musical number.
Well, color me a series regular.
I remember that musical number.
They keep telling Curtis Armstrong, like, maybe it's your character's year, and making like all these jokes about like, we got to do a show a week, which they almost never did. And like, we got to make 22 episodes, but let's be real, we'll do 16. I think they managed like 13 that season. Yeah, like that was, and then we started the first episode, which is not a fourth wall breaking musical number. It starts out like the way that, Running Scared is way too much of way more of a crime movie than a buddy comedy. Like, and people forget, like, or even Beverly Hills Cop. Like, you go back and watch like 80s silly cop movies, and the cop part is like way the fuck too gritty. Like Moonlighting opens with like real cinematography and a crime.
Well, it's interesting to notice because I've seen a lot of video essays about how, man, the death of comedy movies because Marvel's doing a bunch of like comedy during their action movie. And I was like, well, shit, Beverly Hills Cop and this, it feels like that's how it used to be. Like this doesn't feel like anything new. Like, but yeah, Moonlighting was actually pretty good. The dialogue's great. The will they, won't they, even from the beginning of the, like, I was telling Les that Sybil Shepherd should not wear pigtails in the show at all, because if she did, Bruce Willis would pull them.
Absolutely.
It is
Like he'd have to.
childish antagonistic relationship, and yet weirdly charming. You know, it's interesting to see Bruce Willis be good in something. You know,
Yeah, like Nick was like, if you've only seen the last 10 years of Bruce Willis, you've just seen him be a curmudgeonly like great uncle half asleep.
you've
in the
seen
back
him
of a
not
family
want to
gathering.
be
Like,
wherever he is for a solid decade. You forget, like, shit, he was happy to be somewhere at some point. Because he's hilarious. He's on all the time. He's got charisma. It's like, oh yeah, you used to be good at this.
he's got hair.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of
Not-
hair. It's weird.
Does he have a lot of hair?
No, he has a
For
lot
He
of
Bruce
has
hair.
Willis.
some hair. I was gonna say, by Bruce Willis standards, I remember that.
He's got
I
like
had
half
a cousin,
the amount of a leading man's amount of hair.
I remember having a cousin who was telling me when I was starting to lose my hair in my 20s, she was like, "Oh yeah, just look at Bruce Willis." So yeah, he didn't have that much hair at that time.
No. You can sort of see the ghost of it. It's starting to fade.
Comparing him to Die Hard.
He's got
or
an
whatever,
Adam
when, like,
Strange thing going on with his hair.
It's weird to see Bruce Willis with any amount of hair. So seeing him with this much hair threw me like for a loop. Like I'm like, oh my god.
So I've been wanting to go back. I'm going to rewatch Moonlighting. I've only seen probably maybe half of it at best. I've seen bits and pieces,
Yeah,
and I don't remember a lot of it. But what I want to know, knowing what we know now, when you watch the first episode, can you tell that he and Sybil Shepherd hate each other?
Yes,
Yes, but
it's weird that the chemistry still works.
Still works because they fucking hated each other.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason they don't get very many episodes.
The moments they
season.
sell, they need to sell only a couple of moments throughout the episode of where they can't
Yeah.
help but like each other. Their characters, anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
and
yeah.
the writing basically takes care of that. The rest of it, they've got a weird chemistry.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
Like honestly, that might be part of what aggravates them extra about each other is that like, okay, I know y'all hate each other, but also get on camera, you crazy kids.
Yeah, that's on my catch up list. Now that Moonlighting is on Hulu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me know if you suggest any other old shows you guys have been holding out on me. Not like Babylon 5 or all this other bullshit though.
So here's the thing. I how big of Cheers fan I am.
Yep.
With the
I was
80s
Cheers.
alcoholism PSA?
I was talking with my buddy Dave, who used to watch Cheers and then he watched Taxi afterward. And I was saying, I don't think I've ever seen an episode of Taxi. I've seen the opening, which had that weird melancholy music and like a taxi driving across the bridge. And I was like, this is like MASH. I don't want to watch this. So I've never seen any Taxi, even though it's got an amazing cast. So
yeah.
I am thinking, and it's on Paramount Plus, I think.
Yes.
I may
think
do a
it
Taxi watch for the first time at some point soon.
Dude,
So.
I may have to throw on some Taxi. We can discuss that together. Yeah. Glenn Gordon Karen wrote on Taxi, the creator of Moonlighting.
Would it be funny if we programmed a week of TV Dudes where it was just we pretended it was it was like 1980,
1983?
Right.
Well, just out here. This episode of Moonlighting, I'm like, yeah, but did you see Taxi this week?
If we can find the schedule easily of like I would totally be down for that.
Oh,
pretend that it's night.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that those schedules exist online.
Oh, for sure.
There's going to be
Yeah.
there'd be an episode of Night Court. I mean, it would be perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This sounds like an April Fool's episode, y'all.
I'm kind of into it. Like
it also incorporates time travel, one of Les's favorite things. So
Well, I mean, for our Halloween episode, we can be haunted by the past.
So me and Les watched fucking Chucky, baby.
Oh yeah, Chucky's return. Chucky season 3, episode 1.
Season 3.
He's in the White House.
Chucky's in the White House.
Oh my god!
What a great
He
reveal!
somehow managed
too.
to get himself given as a doll to the son of the president, who's of course played by Devon Sawa, the president, not his son.
Again.
Yeah, Sawa dies every season and comes back, and
That's a
Don
completely
Custer
different character,
straight up
unexplained.
like, no, we just love Devon Sawa.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I don't think even like there's been like one kill that was pretty spectacular, but not a whole lot going on in that. Just a lot of setup of just like you won't believe where
our
Chucky
kids are
is
now.
this time.
Yeah, and where all the kids are and how they're each dealing with it. Yeah,
Yeah, darn rascal. That led us down a thing of like, oh shit, it makes me want to watch Child's Play. Actually, something else made me want to watch Child's
I think
Play.
that's about what you said. You were like, man, I know we just recently watched through all the Child's Play movies, but I kind of want to watch through all the Child's Play movies. Like, threaten me with a good time. So I hit play on Child's Play.
No,
which is
you showed me
awesome.
You showed me a doll movie.
Oh, I showed you the 7-minute
yes.
Dummy, the 7-minute horror short from the 80s that got tacked onto cable, which is just fucking weird.
Which was weird and made me want to watch Child's Play and.
But
Child's
also,
Play
Nick has a serious phobia of ventriloquist dummies. It's always fun to watch. It's like, yeah. So then we watched Child's Play, and then we watched Child's Play 2, and then we ran out of time that night.
Indeed. And then I couldn't sleep a couple nights in a row. I was having a hard time sleeping, so I was doing work and put shit on the background I didn't have to pay attention to, which was Dune.
How did Dune not help with the sleep?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess the sleeper has awakened.
It was weird because I was in the middle of work and then Dune ended. I'm like, oh shit, I feel like we didn't really do anything story-wise, but 2.5 hours had passed.
Yeah, they folded space-time.
I was like, but we barely did anything in the story. And then I watched American Made, which, again, I watched in the background, but made me curious to watch Narcos, that first season again. And I skipped around because I wanted to see the Barry Seal story, and it's completely different interpretation on those two shows. I mean, not shocking that American Made stars Tom Cruise, so they make him inherently more sympathetic, and that the government fucked him out of his protection deal or whatever, and Narcos was like, fuck that snitch. He got caught and immediately gave up Pablo Escobar. Did not have to be forced on it. Like, he gave like, it's a radically two different interpretations on events and the type of guy Barry Seal was. Like, in American Made, Tom Cruise has a wife and kid and a family. They never show him partying, like partying or cheating on his wife in any way. And Narcos opens with Barry Seal in a bed, just in a pool of hookers. Just like 10 hookers are just falling all around him. Like, I also watched Lego Jurassic Park, which was just Lego's 22-minute version of the first movie, which is cute and pretty funny. It's narrated by not Jeff Goldblum, but a guy doing a Jeff Goldblum impression.
You know, that's like kind of those the Jack Nicholson impressions and the Christopher Walken impressions. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, I love that in the movie or whatever, they ask him what chaos theory is, and he just kind of goes, well, there's chaos and order, and order leads to chaos, which in turn leads to order. Just, he has no idea what he why. I don't know why I'm here, actually. But
well, you said they also have to they dance around all the deaths.
Oh yeah, they can't show any of the deaths, so they show Nedry get run off the road by the Dilophosaurus, and then it spits in his face, and he goes, ew, that's rude. And then it cuts back to Jeff Goldblum in a smoking jacket or like a robe or whatever with his chest hair showing. I think that's how he's telling the story, is from his penthouse or whatever. And he's like, and well, kids, well, Nedry might have go get a cup of tea or something, because we never saw him again. And that's what they keep saying after every person dies, of well, maybe he went off with Nedry to get that cup of tea, because we did not see the Australian dude after he said clever girl. I remember he said clever girl, but I don't remember what happened after that. But yeah, I also watched, of all things, I watched the new Tiny Toons show, Tiny Toons Luniversity.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's kind of a reboot.
Right. Well, I know specifically that Babs and Buster are now brother and sister, which was specifically a joke. I know some people were specifically mad about that because that was a joke in the early one that they weren't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a weird thing to be mad about.
Well, it's one of the running gags, and if you're beholden to a thing you love, I guess dude, people are mad that Splinter might have been gay. There's people out there that I'm like, I think I'm a huge ninja. Like, I'm like, man, there's no bigger Ninja Turtle fans than me. But then I'm like, thinking the
Right,
level of
right.
anger that I'm like, oh, that seems exhausting. Never mind.
Right. Yeah.
So Tiny Toons University takes place in college though, and it like all the characters first meet. Even so, it's not a sequel because the first show was more of a high school. Felt like anyway, and it's definitely interesting that they have just alumni from all over the place, and the Ham, God, what's the kid's name? The Kid Pig. He's the son of a like one of the most famous tunes, and I'm like, oh yeah, Porky. And like, nope, it's his mom. This is Red Eye Mom. Like they make up a completely different character that is the
Is it
head.
Petunia?
I forget what it, but I get it's not a character I recognize from any Acme cartoon. And like, oh man, she's a legend.
Okay. How does it compare? I recall, unlike Tiny Toons, the Animaniacs came along and made it basically obsolete.
Yeah, Tiny Toon. It's basically it's a less less bonkers, irreverent version of Animaniacs, and this one
Mhm.
is trying to steal from the. It feels like it's stealing the energy from the remake of Animaniacs, like the
Hmm.
renewal, which is not great in the fact that it. I like it more because it's not. It does feel very, at least like it's hitting on what the original idea was, which is also a
Right.
offshoot and even more kidified version of trying to update the Looney Tunes for a younger audience, and now they're trying to take that younger audience and play to the nostalgia for that audience. That it is a weird inception level of who is this show for?
I mean, the original did an entire They Might Be Giants music videos episode that was
Yeah,
for no one. No one.
that is how I discovered.
Yes. That's how a lot of us discovered
I
They
don't
Might
know.
Be
I think it was
Giants.
for
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. So like I want them to pick a weird band and just do that again. Like I hope the show just swings for the fences.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I only watched one episode so far, but I will continue in and report back.
All right.
We also kept watching The Rookie, which is
Yep.
definitely weaker this season, it feels like. We had our first time where the what was it? Harper is using not police resources. She hires a PI because it would be wrong for her to hire police resources to
Like a main character just absolutely goes after her ex-husband, like to
to
get
destroy
full
him,
custody
so
by
to
just
get custody of the
destroying him.
kid. Because he has the audacity of moving away from California.
And Nathan Fillion's like, "Yep, you got to do what you got to do."
And yeah, the show portrays them as in the right the entire time, and me and Les are looking back and forth like, is she a monster? What the
Like the show's gonna blink, right? Like she's a monster. Nope. So yeah, season 3 so far was the high water mark. They clearly went out and got a consultancy who gave them notes on their scripts, and it's fucking sharp. And then season 4 keeps like the memory of that, but I don't think anybody's keeping them to task on it anymore. Because the show it's sloppier all around.
That's too bad.
Hopefully, I know they've still got one more season to go. I think that's on Hulu waiting for us. So we'll see if season 5 arcs back up. What kind of started all of this was us, thanks to Hulu, getting dropped into a season 5 episode randomly when we were still in season 1 and going, well, I mean, like, we're clearly out of sync here. I don't know who some of these characters are, but this is a whole other show. What the fuck? So we stuck with it to see when that happened. Turns out it was season 3.
And then I caught up on some Star Wars Rebels to try and catch up so I could finally watch Ahsoka.
Yeah.
God, Star Wars Rebels is so close to being. It's good, but it's so close to being great. And I feel like some of it is just this 3D animation limits them into. None of the fights are really cool. Everyone has the same like no one has a distinctive lightsaber fighting style, like because they all just swing their swords the same way. Like it's better than the Clone Wars. They have more bend, like the lightsabers bend a little bit and gives them a little more flexibility than Clone Wars did. But it's still like just so that the show can look exactly like the toys. But big ups to Thrawn though, like that Thrawn gets to be
Man, I think what Rebels does really well is starship stuff
Yeah.
because their space combat is among the best they've done.
Yeah, oh yeah, the space combat's actually pretty oh man, especially when Vader gets involved into a starfight
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, right, Anakin was a great pilot," because he starts to whoop ass on a whole armada
Right.
himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's bits about that work, but yeah, I actually really love Rebels. I think it's the best animated thing they've done. But you're right that there's some stuff that would have been better if they'd had stronger animation.
Also, I love that they basically ignore after Order 66, I realized that in the Star Wars universe, they basically ignore the whole Jedi shouldn't have attachments thing.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the Jedi are like, well, I guess that didn't work out. Let's try something else.
Right. And they but like they don't even know like why like they don't know who Vader is. They don't know why their order fell. They just like they know they were betrayed. And I love that Kanan is training Ezra, and he has a fucking wife the entire time. Like he immediately got a wife. The what was it? The video game, the Jedi Survivor or whatever. He has a girlfriend now. Like everyone is like, yeah, you know what? Now that we don't have the actual temple, the Jedi temple, like breathing down our necks on it, maybe fuck that rule. Which is weird because they treat other rules like they're sacrosanct. Like Kanan is so like, we can't use the Sith holocron. That is evil or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you fucking pick and choose on these rules all the time. But yeah, overall, it's still the best Star Wars animated thing way down the rung after the Tartakovsky version. Like the best they can do still doesn't even reach that how good that was.
That is true. But in terms of like that is great animation and it's great action. But in terms of telling a story, I think Clone Wars and Rebels are better. What Tartakovsky was doing was something else.
There's more of it. There's more of it. I would say that it's not like, telling a story doesn't mean like I'd like the idea of telling a story of how much dialogue do you need to describe why like there's so much justification for why like, hey, why did the Jedi not suck? Or maybe the Jedi are wrong about this, but not about everything.
I don't know. I love the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, but they were real short and they were real action focused.
Because he realized he couldn't tell a story with the Jedi because the Jedi suck. Like there's the inherent problem in storytelling in Star Wars, and I'm telling you, it's the Jedi.
I feel the hate flow through
and it's
you.
I know it's a significant problem because that's what the whole universe is built around. But Lucas ruined it in the prequels, dude. Every Jedi is hypocritical at some point. The Clone Wars are full of points where they are just like we can't get politically involved until we do. But you're wrong for doing it. Like and we're supposed to be watching good guys, and yet every time I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of glad that you all get fucking wiped. You weird like pseudo cult.
Nick, I'm going to recommend you don't watch Ahsoka.
Dressing like moisture farmers.
I don't know. This started on how I liked Rebels. I want to point that out.
It did. It just like it slowly steered into Star Wars and the Jedi.
I want to get off track here. Like Rebels is good. Rebels is good.
All right, good. You can remember that energy when you guys start talking about the Continental and anything that works about it. And I interrupt to talk about how much Mel Gibson sucks.
Just think of the Jedi as a whole, like as by Mel Gibson, I guess.
Les, I think you have some other stuff on your list.
Yeah, I did not watch any Star Wars at all. But I did watch Child's Play and all of that. Watched the autopsy episode of Cabinets of Curiosity with Fanny, who had not seen any of those. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite one of that. Damn, it's so fun. We watched, let's see, I watched Castle along with The Rookie because it's just adorable watching Nathan Fillion be a cad. I saw the Halloween episode where he dresses as Mal, which is great.
Yeah.
The interplay back and forth just gets funnier over the years for me of like his daughter's like, didn't you wear that 5 years ago?
Yeah.
But I like it. Dad, move on. It was great.
Never.
Let's see. Watched a couple episodes of 30 Rock, which is always hilarious. Watched the return of Loki, which is great. Watched the return of Quantum Leap, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Lower Decks. I watched the first 3 episodes of American Horror Story Delicate, which is moving slow for an American Horror Story. It's really cool, but like so far, it's weird pregnancy stuff. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Kim Kardashian is perfectly cast in the role that she's in. She plays this like mega agent to this actress that's the lead in the center of the show, who's pregnant, and she is, as far as like Kardashian playing a like just LA mega bitch super agent, she's perfect. Like she can just be like, oh girl, like the best friend in the world, and then without changing anything about her inflection, be the meanest bitch you've ever seen. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say you're a good actress because I have no idea if you're acting, but wow, were you flawlessly cast for this particular, like what they are asking you to do in this series is exactly your wheelhouse. So that's been fun so far. I'm eager to see where it goes. It's American Horror Story, so I assume next episode, like 3 other shows are going to start in the middle of this show. Because it's honestly, it's really focused, and that's throwing me. We watched Possession, which I was telling Randy a little bit about off mic. Fanny had read a review of this 1981 cult classic with Sam Neill and I'm blanking, Isabella Adjani is the French, I believe is the French actress's name. She won the Best Actress at Cannes the year that this came out. It was banned in the UK because tentacles.
Oh, because of the tentacle rape? Jeez.
Yeah, it's not rape. It seems consensual.
Consensual. It's consensual tentacle sex. Great.
It's hard to tell. The thing does kind of mind control people, but she's fucking nuts for it. Yeah, it
I believe that would fall under the dubious consent tag.
Right. It is a film. It is a movie that it is. That's really. I'm seriously like it is.
It was shot.
Fucking brain. It was shot. There were many actors.
The actors were in it.
Not as many as you think. And almost all of them die.
Have you been affected by a Cthulhu mind god? You're just describing what a movie is.
And yet, at no point in this film did I have any idea what the living shit was going to happen next or what anyone's motives were in any scene. It's absolutely bananas, beautifully shot. And then there are tentacles. It's definitely 2 hours of my life I won't get back, but wow. It's on Shudder. You couldn't see it for years and years. It just wasn't anywhere. You had to have torrented it or something. But it's out now, and it's got Sam Neill in it. Possession. I can't recommend it as good, but it's unfucking forgettable.
How much is a Possession is in the movie? Would you say it's 9/10 of the film?
Yes, something like that. It's at least.
All right, fuck you guys. You know what? They all can't be winners. You sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Sometimes you try and things don't work.
It is the longest subway miscarriage scene I've ever seen in a movie. I can safely say that about it.
I like that that's a category.
Man, can't you just say it's the longest miscarriage scene? Or is that like, have you seen another miscarriage scene that's long? That makes me think you've seen a miscarriage scene longer than it. That just wasn't on a subway.
I feel like I have in some movie, but it wasn't in a subway. This one is very much in a subway tunnel. Man,
I'm going to ask this and realize it's me asking you this. What movies do you watch?
Possession is the only movie I've ever watched. It's the only movie I ever will. It's now replaced all movies in my brain. That's not true. We also watched Child's Play and Child's Play 2, which were fucking awesome. Also watched a documentary on Tanya Tucker that's on Netflix called The Return of Tanya Tucker, which was really, really well put together. Both kind of story of this country star that was fucking huge in the 70s and into the 80s. She went rock and country basically turned its back on her, and she's largely forgotten now. And is still pretty on top of her game. Like it's a there's definitely points in the documentary of like, oh crap, can they get this lady to get her shit together? Like she doesn't really need to do this. Y'all want her to return to music, but like it carries some baggage for her. And Brandy Carlisle, another country singer, younger country singer, gets her to record this album. You watch the whole recording process while really deftly segueing into like, she'll say something and they'll go into a little bit of backstory. The documentary is very well edited and put together. And then they released this album, and you see it like go through awards seasons and shit from a few years ago. It really uplifting, really fun. Kind of sailed through it. It was a really nice throw something on and enjoy some music in the background. Weirdly enough, she was at ACL this year. Tanya, she has not toured in years, and I think no showed a bunch of shows the last time she toured. So Hulu once again did their ACL kind of sampler. They put a camera up on a couple of stages, or at least tapped into the feed on a couple of stages, and you could kind of pick from 2 different live streams. You got whatever was on the stage on channel 1, whatever's on stage on channel 2. And so I caught, I think Maggie Rogers did a great set. I watched Tanya Tucker, a little bit of Foo Fighters. It was really fun. Like, it gets you a good sampler of ACL if you don't want to go be in the hot sun and spend all the money and do all that. You can kind of throw it on in the afternoon and, see what the kids are screaming about. Watch Venus Williams dance to Breland. And that's about all I watched.
Let's see. I watched the second season of Review, which I had forgotten most of it.
We watched the first episode of that, didn't we?
Oh, I did not mention. Yes. Randy, on your recommendation.
Good.
Yes,
we watched the first episode of Review.
It was really
I'm
funny.
so excited. I'm so excited for you guys to watch Review.
Yeah.
God, it's so fucking dark. And so funny. Yeah.
So I'm 4 episodes into to season 2, and
how many seasons are there?
There are 3 perfect seasons. And the first episode back, he decides to he gets Charles to go into a bare knuckle brawl. I won't tell you all what happens, but I will. Let me just tell you what the titles are of the shows I've watched: Bare Knuckle Brawl, Blackmail, Glory Hole.
I saw Glory Hole in the list.
Curing Homosexuality, Mile High Club.
Okay, man, that's 2 you can knock off at the same time.
Right?
Falsely Accused, Sleep with Your Teacher, Little Person.
I'm sorry, wait a minute, whoa. Is that falsely accused, comma, sleep with your teacher? Or
comma, totally different.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the last one I watched is Cult and Perfect Body. The same way that the show always dovetails their stories together.
Yes.
So the Sleep with Your Teacher thing leads into Cult and Perfect Body. Basically, he starts a cult. He becomes this weird orange tan Hulk with implants, and it's all ties together beautifully with the Sleep with your teacher in it's insane. It is so good. I'd forgotten most of season 2 because I remember season 1 really well, and I remember sort of the bits and pieces of season 2, like the end. But I'm like, this is almost like watching a new show again to me, and it's so goddamn funny.
Yeah, watching Addiction just turned into like the cocaine show, and then that dovetail into taking that poor girl to prom.
Yeah, yes. And how they end that with the cocaine and like they
going, and his wife crying, taking him back to rehab.
Yep. Well, I just can't get addicted to anything. I've tried cigarettes, I've tried alcohol, I've tried cocaine. There's just one more thing to try. Cocaine. Yeah, it's great. I'm really enjoying.
Also, I think the first one we watched was Stealing, right? Which was like,
yes,
first he steals like a just shoplifts. Like, oh, that felt pretty good. That's maybe I'm missing a personal. Then he steals the groceries from an old woman. Oh, this feels bad. Oh, this doesn't feel good at all.
Yep.
As he's doing it.
I watched The Black Coat's Daughter, which has been on my to watch list for a while. I was not super into it. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. It was a Kieran Shipka murder week. I watched that and Totally Killer. Kieran Shipka and Emma Roberts, both of whom I like quite a bit, and James Remar, who I would really like. I felt like it did a good job with mood, but I thought the story wasn't great for me, so I just didn't quite love it. I liked it, but I wouldn't like super recommend it or anything. I watched Star Trek Lower Decks, which we'll talk about, Quantum Leap, a couple episodes of Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. There are 35 seasons of The Simpsons, so I was able to watch. I have Treehouse of Horror for like at least 10 or 11 episodes.
Dude, you could just spend a day on Treehouse of Horror, just marathon it.
Yes. The one of the ones I really liked had like Guillermo del Toro doing an opening sequence, so it's like a tons of references.
Sure. I've seen that one.
They did a Paranormal Activity episode or story. They there was a bunch of good ones in this one. I can't remember what all I watched, but I'm like, there was one episode, there was one year where I thought it was kind of a letdown, and then the other two I thought were both really good. So even when The Simpsons is off, the Treehouse of Horror episodes are usually pretty on. And so I'll probably keep going back and watching a few of those from time to
I think you
time.
get an advantage from having, well, one, the anthology format going forward,
Yeah,
and they don't have to. I mean, it's not like Simpsons has any running continuity to speak of anyway, but you get to
right.
completely disregard it during the Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they sort of took a note from that from the show, and that's why the show's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the episode
into
that
that.
the Guillermo del Toro was season 25, and Guillermo del Toro did the opening sequence, and then there was a Dr. Seuss riff, which was weird, but it's like a horror Dr. Seuss,
I can see that.
and then they did a Freaks, the movie Freaks, which was
All
pretty well
right,
done.
all right,
So yeah,
classic.
they went pretty out there, yeah. So then I watched the latest episode of Gen V, which y'all were saying you hadn't watched yet, which is a bummer because I'm looking forward to talking
Which
about
is
it.
weird.
But
Like I was
the
all excited for Gen V, and I just plumb forgot. Like,
Completely forgot about it this week.
yeah, well, Thursdays is suddenly super loaded. We've got Star Trek, Quantum Leap, the Gen V, and I feel like there's something else. Oh, Loki,
oh
obviously.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, there's like 4 or 5 shows dropping on Thursdays now. Then I watched episode of the Continental and Totally Killer, and I watched the latest episode last week tonight, which is a horrifying story about homeschooling. And I know people. I'm in Austin. I know people who've homeschooled their kids. I know people who've homeschooled their kids to keep them away from the right wing stuff. But mostly homeschooling seems to be so that right wing people can keep their kids away from having to actually learn shit. And man, did the homeschooling thing confirm that particular bias for
Well,
me,
I mean, it's
and
one thing
it's
of
brutal.
their viewpoint, yeah, is like, well, I want to keep my kids safe from all the liberal learning going on in public schools. I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, it's been a while since
Man,
I've been in public school, but I gotta tell you, we learned shit that was just not like, like our history
yeah,
books were all
yeah,
fucked up.
Like algebra
it's
doesn't
not
have a slant,
yeah.
like, and your
All
kids.
but there is literally a bit where a woman is talking about how their homeschooling program is designed to turn people into good little Nazis.
Yeah.
Like she literally says the words, "What the fuck?"
It was like
Yeah.
the joke was like,
Uh,
it's only acceptable to it's only very acceptable to say that your kid is a great little Nazi if they're heading up Sound of a Sound of Music. And even then,
it's
just
like Rolf, and
even then, just say that
Even
he's
then-
a great Worf or whatever the character's name is. But quit being weird about it.
Yeah, good little thespian.
the character's name is Rolf, but I'm deeply amused at the idea of Worf as a stand-in for Nazis.
I don't know what made me say Worf, but I was like, I know it's not, but I'm fucking sticking to it.
Honestly, making them Klingons makes me more sympathetic. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But we could get some more Klingon opera like we've seen from Strange New Worlds. So that
Oh
might
yeah,
be all
no,
right.
you haven't heard Wagner until you've heard it in the original Klingon.
Nazi Klingon dirges.
I think we all know that their stuff sounds like K-pop.
Do we?
We
You know
do.
that? For sure. Okay.
From
Ballet
Strange
of the
New Worlds.
Nebulung.
Why have you?
Why you only calling us when you got your dramas? One of these days we'll repay you, we'll slay you. Gonna draw your last breath at the end of my glance. Your eternal torture is every Klingon dream. You know what I mean? Make them scream!
All right. Just a reminder, you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes, throwing us $1 an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with our streaming services. You pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. And this week, we're keeping up with the Halloween theme, and we're talking about Totally Killer over on Prime. All right, time for the main course. Let's talk about the Continental. And before we talk about the Continental, let's talk about Mel Gibson and why this fucker has a career. Because here's the thing. I know you can't really cancel people. I know that's not how a thing really works. But this dude was as fucking canceled as you actually get. He was a racist, sexist, misogynist with a Nazi for a dad. He never fucking apologized,
See,
and he was done.
you know what he did do, Randy?
You shut the
He
fuck
shut
up.
the fuck up
For a while.
for a
Yeah.
while, and then went away, and then came back, which used to be how this worked.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, I'm okay with it going away. I'm not good with it coming back. This motherfucker should be doing third-rate vampire movies in Romania at best. I'm not saying he has to starve to death. Not saying I'd be sad if he did, but I'm saying that he should be doing fucking third-rate vampire movies in Romania.
Right. He should not be on a high budget John Wick universe. They like
And here's the thing.
him turning up in a Vince Vaughn career rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With him and Vince Vaughn, sure, that makes sense. I get that. Adam Sandler hires him for something. Yeah, I get that. The only reason he is in this show is there's a couple possibilities. One is that he came in and auditioned like everybody else and just blew everybody away. Does anyone believe that's what happened? No, that's not what fucking happened. No. That is the only way it would be even mildly acceptable is if they're like, wow, man, he's such a good actor.
But the anger about casting him is the most interesting thing about the show.
And that's the thing. They cast him for marketing, and it's so fucking sleazy. The only
there's
other
also
reason
the thing, Nick. Yeah, if you don't want to actually have to tell me anything about why I hate this dude, just cast Mel Gibson.
And I was like,
I will hate that character immediately. Like, well, there's the fucking asshole.
And trust me, that is what they're. It's a narrative shortcut. It's the polar opposite of what they did with Omni-Man and Invincible. They didn't want to put in the work for us liking Omni-Man before they made him evil, right?
Just made it J.K. Simmons.
So they just made it J.K. Simmons, so we immediately like him for not any particular reason.
But here's the thing: you could get actors who can do that.
Why wasn't this just Brian
Randy,
Cox?
I'm saying yes. I would write a couple more scenes and have what's his name, Gollum.
Andy Serkis.
I would have Andy Serkis play that part and just write a couple scenes where he's evil and let him chew up the scenery. So then let him hate him after a couple scenes. But they don't want a couple scenes. They just want you to look at him and hate him.
This made me like the Continental less than I was going to, and it also made me like the John Wick franchise less. I'm like, you guys associated with this piece of shit, and now I don't like you anymore.
It did feel like a ding. Like it honestly felt like if they told me Woody Allen directed an episode.
Yeah, I'd be like, fuck you. And so I watched one episode, and it opened with a very John Wick sequence with the guy who's Mel Gibson's son,
the not Wick,
Mel Gibson, the not Wick, who has the skill with the guns.
Yeah,
and
he's
all
not
that.
his son.
And then
he's not his son.
Yeah.
But
he's his adopted son or whatever he is.
He works him as
him
kids.
and Winston, they're brothers, and they were brought in as kids.
They're orphans.
Well,
they're orphans.
Like
he makes
owned their dad.
Down.
Like they hate this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but this whole thing, like they open with the action sequence and the heist, and I'm like, oh, this is actually not bad. Maybe I'll
the heist is pretty
Mel
slick.
Gibson to get through it. And then the rest of the show is fucking boring.
I watched that heist going, why wasn't this in the Golden?
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yes.
Because I dug that. And honestly, like the hyperspeed of some of the action, like the way it looks, they do that right in terms of looking like John Wick. The Misty Knight show that we get across this, I don't know if you got far enough. I can't remember if she's in episode 1 enough.
The black family that runs the
dojo.
Yeah.
And gun runs. The daughter there is basically just Misty Knight, just ass whooping across the city.
Yeah.
Them
she's fun.
putting it in the 70s, they're taking advantage of the soundtrack for sure.
Oh yeah, a lot of James Brown. But yeah, every time Gibson's on screen, I have that moment again of honestly, it's like Woody Allen for me of like, you shouldn't be working though.
Yeah, what are you doing here? Yeah.
So Mel Gibson aside, and I realize that's a lot to put aside for some people, so I'll give you a minute to fucking put your back into it and throw it there.
Mel Gibson aside, I watched 3.5 hour movies of this, which is more John Wick than I've total watched. Like this just doubled the amount of Wick universe I've seen.
Well, and they make some good decisions in the first 2 episodes that are ultimately like I like the show and am interested in the universe. I feel like they haven't quite. I mean, the John Wick movies had to keep bringing the kind of gin this up on the fly after the first movie they liked the Hitman Hotel idea, and so they introduce a cop that sees it from like a civilian's perspective that doesn't know about the Continental, and that's a pretty cool thing to like. The cops are like, "Hey, we don't know a lot about that place. We just know whatever happens there happens there. Don't
go near it. Don't investigate it. Just don't worry about it."
Yeah. Also, seeing Mel Gibson as a polar opposite to how we see, like Winston runs shit as a businessman, as a like deal maker, and kind of like efficient and business like, and Mel Gibson plays it as a Bostonian thug, like that doesn't seem to be liked by the high table, which is present in the show, but never really like kind of like in the movies all around, like omnipresent, but yet never really having to do anything. And the show suffers from good ideas that don't bear out and have a sloppy conclusion in the third episode. I feel like I would have liked it more had the third episode really. There's a couple things they do, like certain fight matchups of like, why aren't the Hansel and Gretel brothers fighting the brother and sister team that is on the other team? And it's because there's a whole unnecessary character in Frankie's wife that Les is correct is like they wanted her to be a badass female character, but honestly, you can remove her from the story and nothing changes. And it's like, oh, and she comes off as kind of petulant and whiny. And which is a thing that can happen on the when you write a character that like, oh, she's mad and has an axe to grind, is out for revenge.
Well, I mean, you get that, like, I mean, I get that she lost the love of her life. That's her only reason for living, and she's supposed to be super mad. But the character that she lectures on screen about being mad about getting vengeance is consistently the dead guy's brother. So it kind of undercuts
her.
Like,
they give her
like,
a story
lady,
of vengeance.
I get that you're hurt, but it's his brother too.
She wants Hansel and Gretel, the assassins that killed Frankie, and we know that as an audience.
Yeah.
We saw them shoot him from across the street with a sniper rifle. And then the show never, like unless I missed it, never explains how she knows those two individuals are the ones responsible. Because she just saw
there's a
Frankie get
lot.
shot.
There's a lot of stuff like that.
And even if you do know, Cormac, Mel Gibson's character, is the one that greenlights the assassination. He's the one responsible, not really anyone that pulls a trigger.
Yeah, I checked out of this. I mean, I was definitely not planning on watching more of it anyway. But when they killed the most interesting character at the end of the first episode, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
You could already kind of tell that was like,
honestly, it feels like for no reason. He looks at them in the helicopter, and from what it felt like to me, I was like, this feels like he's just opting to like, hey, we're all in the getaway vehicle, but I'm gonna get back out.
That's the moment when the actor found out Mel Gibson was in it. He's like, fuck it, I'm out.
Scene. No, he found out the Mel Gibson was it when he had the because that was one of the great. I've never seen that before, where he shares a toast with Mel Gibson. Drinks walks it away and then spits that shit right back. Like, what a great non-visual way to show you the relationship between two people. Of like,
yeah.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I just toasted with that. I fucking hate this guy. Like,
go with headcanon. They just left that in the take. That's not something the character did. That's just the actor.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Jewish and
there's a lot of little mistakes that pile up in a way that make it like the message is confused as far as revenge and what the show's ultimately about. Like, it feels like the show is about revenge and control over one's life and fate and all this other shit that they kind of play. There's dialogue that basically like hints at this, but nothing that really comes to, anything. One of the things is that Hansel and Gretel, the brother sister assassin team, are wholly uninteresting. Like, you haven't seen much of them in the first episode, but even in the second and third. In the third episode, when the Continental goes on, when they make the assault on the Continental and all the hitmen in the hotel just arm up and decide to take on the invaders, there's 4 or 5 other background hitmen that seem more interesting than these two Matrix rejects. And one of them, the sister is a contortionist, can like contort and spider crawl and spider fight, and that doesn't come up until the third episode. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
that was the only thing.
She's
that was
the stunt person from the end of malignant, and like they don't let her go nuts until the end of the third episode. And then
thing that because the brother can't do that, or the actor can't do it, that they don't incorporate it. And
I don't know
if
the brother looked like Emo Phillips went and got robot legs. It was a risky operation, but it was worth it.
Well, why not have the operation be Frankie fights them hand to hand and they kill him? That way you can see that his wife has 2 people to have vengeance on. Why are they why it felt like they ran out of time in that shooting day and couldn't film an actual fist fight and just decided to have him get shot. Because it feels like
Yeah,
that should be where we see the like Frankie is the badass in that episode. No one can touch him until these two come on the scene. Oh yeah, they should team up on him and fucking kick his ass and show how fucking scary they are. But I'm never scared of them. I'm never interested in them, and that it kind of plays to a whole metaphor of the entire show of you're showing me a thing that could viably be interesting, but you didn't put the work in to make interesting.
Well, they've got the worst prequel problem. They are consistently telling me about the lead up to an interesting thing, because I really don't give a fuck about so much how Winston takes the Continental from Mel Gibson. I wanted to see him learning to run it.
Yeah, I would like to see him
And
learning to run it. That's interesting.
When we realized, like, oh, these aren't coming out once a week. All 3 parts are out. We're done.
Yeah.
Okay. It's simultaneously like 5.5 hours of fucking, I don't know, whatever, 4.5 hours of show, and yet feels short, which is baffling.
Well, I also like that they make Frankie the John Wick type character, and that goes forward into the movies of Winston likes John Wick because he reminds him of his brother. There's good decisions being made throughout the show. Just they get hampered down by like either sloppy editing or sloppy, just maybe not even willing to put in the work for a reshoot on some of these scenes that seem obviously backwards or weird. Lem is a pretty cool character that honestly in the first episode doesn't get a lot of time to shine. I doubt, Randy, you even know who he is.
Nope.
But he's a lot of fun in the second and third episode, and they steal his thunder and his big action sequence, and they steal it immediately from him for some reason. And I don't know why. Like, Les, you know the scene I'm talking about, the pipe bomb, like mail order grenades.
Yeah. They have a moment where a guy is like in the central spot with all like the pneumatic tubes, like a bank, or like to send messages all around the hotel. And he just throws a grenade in one, like, foom.
And
you just see, and like it's right in the middle of the cabin in the woods moment when all of the shit's hitting the fan, and and so you get just enough of a moment to see what could happen next.
You figure that he's gonna start throwing all grenades in these tubes, and the whole hotel's gonna blow up
like a maniac, and like getting word on the radio, hey, order up in 313B. Boom.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a problem in 206. Boom.
It's a lead up to what in your mind is like, oh, this is going to be a fun sequence.
Instead, immediately somebody throws the grenade back down and kills him.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, like Nick and I were like, okay, wow, that actually now feels like you took something away from me.
But then they have a whole fight scene later, and then Winston shows up into that room, finds Lem dying, and dies because he wasn't dead.
And they try to have like a big death
and
moment
then Winston throws
like,
all the grenades in the pneumatic tubes.
Yeah, somebody still gets to do his thing, just not him.
But I was like, wait, all the weight of this has, like, you've let this like lie too long. I'm now no longer excited for this. It's a whole other characters thing now that didn't strike a chord. Like the setup and payoff are like, it'd be like if a wrestler jumped up onto the ropes to do a suplex, and then you went to commercial break. And then watch that wrestler just like kind of just come down, get replaced with a slightly smaller wrestler, and then finish off that suplex on a completely different dude. Like
it was a weird choice.
But yeah, I will since I mean spoilers for Randy, even though I know he doesn't care. Mel Gibson will no longer be a problem for season 2 if they do a season 2 of this. He's gone. So
yeah, maybe they get Vince Vaughn in. They can
man, I would actually kind of respect the fuck you.
And Woody Allen can direct.
Man, if they put Louis C.K. into like
No, please don't let that be the shtick of the John Wick universe. Like whoever was canceled last year's our villain.
I already haven't seen John Wick episode John Wick 4. If you want to make sure I never watch another John Wick movie, that's the way to do it. I will send that fucker down the Harry Potter memory hole so fast.
Yeah, I feel like they you don't need a John Wick to make this universe work. You just need a couple interesting people that whose stories you care about, and they do have that in Winston and the drug running brother sister team. I actually give a shit about their story.
I need 100% Les Mel Gibson.
Hey, next season we'll give you that.
All right, let's have our side dishes. Let's talk Loki season 2, which they're dropping this one a week. But I thought this first episode back was, speaking of problematic people, although in this case they didn't know it was going to be. Jonathan Majors is going to feature into the season. They've filmed all this stuff with him before
apparently,
all the stuff came
from
out.
what I understand, they're starting filming back up with him. Like, it looks like he beat that
Wow.
rap.
Either that's fizzling out or he's beat it or
Man.
something.
Yeah,
Well, it's one thing that no one else came forward after. Like, it's like, I feel like
I thought they did. I thought more people came forward.
not that I
I
remember.
don't know,
Okay.
but I haven't looked
Yeah.
into
It
it.
was the one complaint. Not to say there's not others, but
Right.
that was what sunk Cosby and
Yeah.
Cosby
CK.
had
I
like
mean-
60 complaints.
I did see a bunch of his friends, his college roommates, saying, "Oh yeah, that guy's an asshole." Like that all came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's different though. That of like,
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, but yeah,
Well, Marvel
we have-
seems doubled down right now.
we haven't seen him yet anyway. So, and they did release a statement. They're like, "Yeah, we filmed all that before we knew." So they're like, "It was all done."
yeah, but I think get ready to see Jonathan Majors as Kang going forward, man. I don't think there's anything
Yeah,
stopping that.
we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I guess if they decide to go that way, we will see what happens. I don't know. But this first episode, they bring in Ki Hoi Kwan, and
Oh,
he
as
is delightful.
Obi.
Yes, Ouroboros. Obi.
Speaking of watching memories update
Yeah,
as they go, which we'll discuss on the Patreon this week with Totally Killer. We had just seen that in Loki when I watched that of him like, no, I've never had anything.
Oh,
I have one of those right here.
man, that was such a cool way of him communicating with him. He's like, "Oh, I'm talking to you in the past, so whatever I tell you, you'll suddenly remember." That was so good.
it's so great, and like even they hang and of course in a true Marvel fashion, they hang the lampshade on it of like Obi says,
Uh-huh.
that makes sense. There's nothing there's nothing logically flawed about your argument. That's nothing you could go into there. And yeah, his like just showing the comedy of that scene in two different time periods of the dialogue is honestly like it was less looked at me and it was like, oh man, I'm having so much fun watching you enjoy a time travel thing.
So that's how they get you.
One of my favorite things about what they're doing with Loki is that he's a god, so he operates on a different level. So they just sort of shunted him sideways in this universe where everyone's this weird, like Ki Hoi Kwan's character or Obi. He does all the repairs for the Time Variance Authority. He never sleeps. He never pauses. So he is basically not human, even though he looks human.
Right.
And Mobius is kind of the same way. No, like everyone is a weird part of this cosmic bureaucracy.
Yeah, time like well they've stated before time doesn't flow the same way
Yeah.
here. Which should make time travel in the TVA impossible, but of course, man, them trying to fix the problem with Mobius having to go into that weird suit, worried about his skin.
That suit was fucking great, man. That giant tube on his back.
All the technology in the
That's it.
TVA is great. Of like, yes, like give me all this weird technology that looks like I have to blow on a cartridge to get time travel to work.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. The thing I really love about Loki is the production design on it. Everything looks like 1970s technology. Like they definitely riffed hard on Brazil.
Yes.
Like they're like, yeah, this is bureaucratic nightmare, and all the technology feels weirdly steampunky and old, and also timeless as a result.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. That suit and that whole sequence was a ton of fun. I knew they weren't going to kill Loki, but at the same time, they made me feel it. Like that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, they also introduce it's a great way to introduce a mystery because they at the very end, he's just going between the present and the past. And then at the very end of the episode, he goes into the future, like was it a half hour into the future or something?
Right.
And in that future, he finds Sylvie in like an elevator and then gets hit with a baton like from behind. And it's
Right.
like, it immediately is like, shit, that's a great way to start of like, you get 2 mysteries, like, what's Sylvie doing there? And then,
Mhm.
who
Who stabbed him?
who pruned him?
And were they trying
Were
to
they trying to help
prune
him,
him, or were
or were they
to
trying
help
to
him?
kill him? Like,
Yeah. If they reveal later in the season that it's Loki pruning himself, I'll be delighted.
sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm so happy to have this back, and so happy with this first episode back. It was a ton of fun. Honestly, I like Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson in these parts, but Ki Kwan is just like takes everything up a
Oh,
notch.
he's
Yes.
delightful. Like, just
Yeah.
happy to be
So much
there.
fun.
Eh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I'm glad that the stingers are back.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised they had a stinger in the first episode.
Well, also, it reminds me of what I like about the stingers. Of a good stinger can like give you a story point without having to do like.
Mhm.
It's just one scene of Sylvie basically in a fast food thing, and all it really portrays is that, oh shit, yeah, she had a whole vengeance arc that is now done, and now like, well, now what do
Mhm.
I do?
And she's in
And
the quote unquote real world.
yes, and also a weird McDonald's ad for some reason.
Right?
I guess it had to be somebody.
Whoever ponied up for the most
Yeah,
for the product
like it
placement.
was either gonna be McDonald's or Burger King. So Burger King was like, "No, we had that spot in Iron Man, so like we'll let you have this one."
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Uh, that does remind me in a roundabout way. You guys hear this thing about the Demolition Man? I guess the new streaming version, they've dubbed in that it's not Taco Bell anymore.
What?
What?
It's like all restaurants are something else. I haven't
So,
confirmed
okay.
this.
Well, here's the thing, Randy, and get ready for my weird amount of knowledge about Demolition Man. But
Yeah.
so Demolition Man has two or actually two or maybe even three. I can't quite remember, but I know distinctly two different versions of that joke. They have
Okay.
for international audiences and domestic. They shot two different versions of the joke. One was Taco Bell, and the other was Pizza Hut.
I mean, that makes sense. They're owned by the same people, and maybe it is Pizza Hut in the new one, but I thought I heard it was something
And
else.
so if you were to watch Demolition Man on TV, depending on the channel you were watching it, every once in a while you'd get the different version,
Oh.
and it was like the Mandela effect. People were like arguing about this online before, like in the early stages of the internet, like, no, it's Taco Bell. Like, no, I'm telling you, man, I saw it one time and it was Pizza Hut. You are remembering that wrong. Like, it was a huge deal. Like, it was a three seashells level argument on what the product placement actually was in for the franchise wars.
The 4 seashell.
No, it's 3 seashells.
It's 4.
There are 5 seashells.
No, there's
No,
3.
Picard.
You will not gaslight me on this. I have
Gaslight.
charts about the 3 seashells, okay?
It's like Ibiza. It's like Ibiza. Gaslight.
All right, let's continue with the time travel theme of the week, the accidental time travel theme of the week, and talk about Quantum Leap coming back. Les, I think you and I both really, really plugged into Quantum Leap. Loved it.
Yep. And I even though you're right, when I saw your post online, they do take their sweet ass time addressing the giant cliffhanger of the
That was mean.
of the season that was mean. But I did love this episode of like,
Yep.
Season 1 was 18 episodes long. He thought he had 18 leaps and then he would get back on track. He's got most of his memory back, but he didn't leap home. So what the fuck happened?
Yep.
And what I thought was going on, so we know from season 1, the big reveal that they're the aberration.
Yeah.
They're the team that did something to change time. So they're the little pocket, really. They're not the
Right.
prime
They're the
timeline.
variants.
And
Right. Yeah.
and so I at first I thought, oh shit, have you been leaping around in your variant timeline and now you've leapt over to
the main line.
the main line and they think you're
Right.
their Ben, or are there 2 Bens? So that's kind of where I thought they were going with it. And I'm still not 100% sure what all we're going to do this season.
I thought, and this was pie in the sky for me. I thought since the cliffhanger was basically her running in to see Ben and then something happened, I thought it was going to be Scott Bakula. That basically they fished him out of the time stream.
Dude, you guys
and
are
then
just
he was going to
waiting for
help.
that Bakula cameo. I think you
Man.
might have
And then-
let that go.
Well, no, because you know
No,
why?
He's going to come Bakula.
because Quantum Leap has, and I haven't seen it, but
Is he bringing
We're gonna go
sexy
back into the
Bakula?
future.
I know that the ending of Quantum Leap is one of the darkest,
Oh
most
man.
unsatisfying ends. It was a Poochie level thing. They basically just did a thing of a text crawl of he never
Sam
made it back
Beckett
home.
never came
Like
home.
fuck, what the fuck is
God.
wrong with you?
And then they do the weird there's the weird bartender episode.
So I thought this was going to be like a Justice for Sam Beckett thing, and I still think they're going to do that, but I don't know what they're going to do. But they don't tell us anything in this first episode because instead it is a episode of the week that feels like it could have been dropped into any 80s TV series, but in a good way. Like their episodes of the week are always so well written and so good. They don't have to have the mythology stuff for me. I mean, I love the mythology stuff.
No, I was amazed. I actually enjoyed the shit out of watching the actual episode of the week. And it, like it
Spies
kind of
Like
it
Us
reminded me
riff?
of Legends of Tomorrow in the best possible way. But yeah, like the moment when they discover that it's a box of rocks and one of them's like,
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering why they would entrust anything valuable to us when we are known as untrustworthy screw ups.
Yep.
I was like, that's actually wonderful logic. I really love that.
I love the running gag that Ben keeps like referring to his he's referring to his life to tell them stories of like,
Right.
yeah, my fiance. He's like, what? You don't have a fiance. What are you
They've known
talking
him for
about?"
years and they're like, yeah, this is just this crazy shit he's talking out. Like he suddenly speaks
Did you-
Russian. My
did you
uncle
hit your head?
MacGyver.
Yes, my Uncle MacGyver. Did you hit your head on something? Yeah, I think I did.
Like, yeah. He just like he's getting his memory back and it's great, but it just keeps biting him in the ass.
Yep. But also, there's some great little sequences here. The taking out of the radar dish.
Mhm.
The whole landmine swap thing is a really clever bit.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. Kind of stair stepping it down and wait until they could
Yeah.
put a bag on it. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
when he's explaining the plan of like, no, I'll jump out of the truck first, and like watching the half the crew like, wait, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? And the other ones are like, yeah, let's tie this mine onto the front. I'll help. And like just realizing how
Yeah.
crazy his plan is.
That's the other thing. Every week when they do these guest star things, their characters are well written. Like I bought this whole screw up loser squad. I liked all of them. I like the bickering
Yeah.
brother types.
If this
I
show
like the commanding
can
officer.
if this show can get anything close to Timeless or Legends of Tomorrow for me, it's in its sweet
Yeah.
spot. That's what
Yeah.
what I'm wanting from Quantum Leap.
Yeah, but I am hoping that this week's episode will tell me what the hell happened and where and what the team is up to.
Yes, because we end with well, not the wrong hologram. They are
Yeah.
from the team, but like not the
Right.
hologram he's expecting showing up to help him.
Yep.
I did like asking Ziggy their probability for a relationship and it coming out dead on 50-50.
Dead on 50-50.
And that completely like no, this is like an insanely detailed probability computer. Like it's going to give you like some 100 decimal points of like nope, 50-50.
Like, this is the opposite of helpful.
Yeah, like please never program in anything about my life into that computer again. You're not helping me. Like you're making it so much worse. Stop telling me things about my future.
Anyway, I'm super glad to have it back.
Yeah, same.
And it did not disappoint. All right, let's have dessert and let's talk about Star Trek Lower Decks, which in addition to being this is finally we're getting the Deep Space Nine sequel I always wanted in Lower Decks. It is also the title of this week's episode.
Oh my
Oh,
god, I had to
man.
pause and explain
Les
this to
had
Nick.
to explain that to me. What a fucking deep cut.
Parth Ferengi's Heart Place. That is a deep fucking cut. For those who don't know, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is a British sitcom with Matt Berry, and I don't remember who else. That's basically a riff on a Stephen King type. My buddy Dave is obsessed with it, and that's why I knew about it. But man, that is I'm like, so you're referencing that, and you're doing the stories from Deep Space Nine. Y'all are just like we talked about this last week. They
Give no
love
fucks.
they love all of it.
And give no shits if you've heard of it. Like it's on
Yeah.
like at this point they fully trust if they can mention anything and the audience will go learn it.
Yep. But having Rom and Lita come in, and this is the following up on what happens with them running Ferenginar, was a blast. And
Well, it's great that you actually caught us out on that. Like, we just want to make sure we weren't making a deal with rubes.
Yes, I loved that. I loved how the whole deal making thing went down. Of like, yeah, that Ferengis need you to play dirty back, or like, no, I mean, we can't make a deal with chumps. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this the only time we see the home planet Ferenginar?
No, it's on Deep Space Nine, but it's always raining.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Well, I mean, I love that Mariner comes, like, they come down and Mariner is just immediately like,
Wow! Oh, it's like what heaven would look like if God was stupid.
That's a great way to describe like a Vegas planet.
man, this public library rips hard.
Like Lower Decks more than almost any Trek show. Like so often Trek shows, you know, they show you an alien race. That alien race usually just gets to have like a weird forehead prosthetic, and that's it.
Yep. Yep.
And some weird clothes, and they almost always have to meet you on the Enterprise because that's the set that's built, or Deep
Yep.
Space Nine because that's the set that's built. And then in Lower Decks, we can go down to the planets. I didn't realize how few times we've gotten to do, you know, you
Yeah,
really get to
yeah.
do that. Usually if they go down to a planet, it's, oh, well, they're pre-warp. They look like old Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of doing animation. You're like, yeah,
right. You can just do
we can do
fucking weird
Like,
shit.
fuck it.
Yeah.
Seeing this entire planet, all these Ferengi was awesome.
Oh man. I also like they really do plug into like the Ferengi thing. The side stories are Tendi and Rutherford having to pretend to be a couple.
Oh, wow. And it's finally like, me and Les are like, oh, so we're finally going at this, huh? Like,
Yep. And the thing where they're about to give in, and he's like, and they find out that there's like life imprisonment if you take advantage of the deals.
well, I
Yeah,
love
'cause
that.
like you
Yeah,
defrauded a
Which is a very
coupon.
Ferengi. It's a very Ferengi
Yes.
thing
if
to
you,
do.
yeah, it's, they have a bunch of deals that of course they want you to take advantage of or whatever, but also there's like, but if you lie to take advantage of these deals, like that's somehow underhanded enough.
Right to jail. Right to jail.
I love them walking in with the gold bust and then billing
Yes.
them for it.
Well, I also love that it's now canonical that the Cerritos is the horniest and least commitment based ship in
Yes.
in the Enterprise
Yes.
or in
Yes.
Starfleet.
In Starfleet.
So there's no married couples on board. Like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, I have been noticing this is a particularly horny ship.
Yes, it's true. And then there's Boimler's cop landlords thing.
Oh my god!
What? That was
Again,
amazing.
you have to like. I had to remember that. Oh, he doesn't know what a commercial is.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
post scarcity
Is this going to
society.
be programming me? Wow.
Like they see a simulation of like, what is this, a bonk? Like oh right, they don't know what money is, they don't know what a bank is. Like they have a weird naivete
Yeah.
in Starfleet. And I'm like, oh wait, what do they watch? I'm like, oh, they don't watch shit for entertainment. They go hang out in the
No,
holodeck.
they go to the holodeck. Yeah.
They go play out their favorite like whatever fucking movie they're doing or book
Right.
or whatever. Like,
Right.
Mhm.
they don't
Yeah.
have to watch.
Oh, it's like a holo novel.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he has no. It's like giving a smallpox blanket. Like he has no immunity
He's
built
no
up.
idea what he's
no
in for.
natural immunity.
Right.
Like he's
Oh, man.
he's eating. Well, he's drinking that Slurm cola. That is.
Yes.
I love that Star Trek is now stealing from Futurama because I'll be damned if that wasn't Slurms Mackenzie in that.
Oh, for sure.
in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they show their soda ad, whatever it's called, at one point, and I was like, so that's a slurm worm.
And they're like, yeah, everyone they get married and find like money or whatever. Like, and this happens to everyone who drinks this. Oh my god, they can just straight up lie to you. That's hilarious.
Lie to you?
And then, oh, they have commercials in the shows. Well, good thing I'm smarter than that. And then, like, the next time you see him, he's got a pile of bottles around him
Like
eating
he's
chips.
Yep,
never
yep.
left.
Yep.
Which is funny because honestly, and it's not a sad story because he immediately goes, I'm going to overschedule everything and experience none of it
Yep.
and enjoy none of it. Like,
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
and I'm like, you know what? At least he enjoyed himself.
Yeah, and it's a Jack that thing is like, no, this is great. You needed to cut loose, man. I was kind of worried about you.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I've
that
also we're sending in people to drag you out.
Just go limp. Don't resist them.
Just go limp.
And then
Yeah, I
Tendi
love
and
Lower
Rutherford
Decks. I'm
are
so
like, well,
glad.
back to be platonic friends. And they just fall over each other into a Jeffrey's tube. Like,
Right? Nothing awkward about this physical.
and I was like, really? So we're not doing anything about it. All right. And I like, even Mariner has
Nope, they're
her
ace
side
besties.
story of not having anything to be mad at.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, I gotten everything I've ever wanted. And of course, she just gets drunk and starts fights in a public library because that's where a great casino is.
I'm so hungover, my spine hurts. Yeah.
Also, they get to she's hanging out with the Ferengi that we saw in the first season that she called to help out with Boimler.
Oh, that's funny. I'd forgotten that.
And I had to remind Les. I'm like, oh, they're pulling from themselves, Les. Remember, they're at this point now where they're pulling from themselves. Like, Lower Decks has made it as like fucking in my head Star Trek canon that they are no longer even just pulling from and making fun of the Star. They are pulling from and referencing and luxuriating in their own story, which makes me excited going forward. Of like, damn, I don't want this show to end. Like, I don't know how long they have like for seasons on this or what kind of deal they have.
Yeah, I don't know.
But even just the introduction of T'Lyn makes me like, oh, I want all like as many seasons without T'Lyn. Now I want those as many seasons with her.
Yeah. If Krapopolis can already be renewed for 3, I want confirmation that Lower Decks is safe for another couple of years.
Yeah. Well, they just announced Prodigy's going to make its second season to Netflix.
Yeah, for Netflix. Yeah.
So maybe that's good news for Lower Decks. I hope. But yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Les.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, dudes.
And thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. Remember, you can go over to patreon.com/tvdudes and throw us that $1 an episode. Listen to us talk about Totally Killer and a whole bunch of other stuff. And until next time,
dudes up!
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.